thank you. Welcome today to the REIA Now monthly update. We're so thankful that you're here in this season of Thanksgiving. We give thanks for you. We're so glad that you're part of our association and definitely thankful that you take time to be with us today. For today, we'll have Charles Tassell, easy for me to say, the National REIA COO and VP of Legislative Affairs, giving us his update. And it will be a fairly large update today after the midterm elections and all of the exciting happenings there. Then we have Al Williamson with Williamson Ideations Inc. and Mack Pairan with Autom Security. Then we're going to talk about rentals that are not just short term, but maybe a little longer, and what that looks like and how you can capitalize on that as maybe one of the solutions that you have for your business. Just a quick disclaimer, because we'll be talking about ways for you to make money and invest and topics and possibly things for your business. There will be a piece of finance in there and maybe some topics on regulations, but none of this is financial or legal advice. If you need advice on those topics or direction in those areas, we tell you that you probably need to see someone locally that can give you advice that is specific for you. We are here to promote, to protect, and to educate. We've been around over 35 years now, starting to push our way to 40. And we have about 120 local chapters and associations across the U.S. with over 40,000 members. And you can thank Home Depot Pro for their support of this session and for support of our local associations. They are our biggest sponsor and have special programs for investors that are for us through National REIA. One of the best things that they have to offer through us is a discount of paint, over 20% off at the register, plus exclusive rebates at the level that we have, and other programs that are for our members. If you have questions about that or anything else, you can visit with your local association and stay connected both legislatively and with the other benefits that they have to offer through national and at the local level. You can find your local association by visiting our website, which is nationalrea.org, and then you can click on I'm an investor. You'll get this pop-up box and just click on find a local REIA. That will send you to a map for your area, and you can find the REIA that is closest to you. I'm going to turn it over now to Charles to give us his update.
All right. Welcome, everyone. I'm going to share screen here a little bit. Start off with this. And of course, it's going to show it that way. We'll work from here. We've got a couple of things going on, one of which is part of the election is still going on. That's the simple way to put it. We have the Senate did not flip. There, the red wave that wasn't. It's interesting because oftentimes they say, success has many parents and failure is an orphan. And in this case, there's a lot of blame going around, but nobody is also, but the other side on the Democrat side are not saying, hey, we're responsible. Hey, we did a great job on something. So it's been interesting. It's more of a, they screwed up rather than we did something well. So it's kind of an interesting mix right now. In the long term, what we're looking at is 50-50, again, probably in the Senate. Georgia will probably do a little more, figure out what happens there. I think it's December 6th coming up. That's just one of the pieces. In the House, as you can see, we've got barely Republican majority in there, which is a little less than what the Democrats have had for the last 2 years. So we have, again, split House, split Senate. What does this mean? Basically, it means it's a log jam. And I kind of use this as an example is to go to this next one, which is kind of look at the governor race, and you look at the country, lots of red states, lots of blue states, lots of mixed states, which personally I prefer them being purple. Both our old Willy Wonka folks and our new Willy Wonka folks, just remember you're going violet. That's officially where we are. The country is pretty much center and has told both parties in some sense, if you take it this way, is no, we don't want either extreme. We want something more central. So with that in mind, what we're trying to do here, let me shut this back down here. If I can stop my share. I can't get back to share. There we go. Hold on. So where are we at? Frankly, this is going to be a log jam. The sense of where the House and the Senate are coming out at is going to be interesting. We've got a couple of good things that have been beneficial. There are two co-sponsors on HR 5013, which has been a bill moving forward. It's the Affordable Housing Access Bill, which again, we've been supportive of this. It's been stuck in part because of committees in the House. It's expected to move, and we're looking for movement hopefully in January on this. But the two co-sponsors, Henry Cuellar and Vicente Gonzalez, Texas 28 and Texas 34 did survive their elections. So that is a good thing. And we can look at bipartisan support coming out of the House, and then it'll be a focus on the Senate. And that will be, who knows what's going to happen. It looks like Schumer and McConnell are both going to be in the Senate. McCarthy is in the House at this point tentatively, and we'll see what happens on the Democrat side as far as who the leadership will be. At this point, Pelosi has said that she is not running, and who knows, the time can change on that. So we'll see where that goes. One of the best things, and I think there's a couple of different business groups that have said this, which is, bluntly put, a logjam is good for stability. We've had a logjam for the last year or so, but it's an election-based logjam, which means one party can get something through if they can get an agreement on something. And we saw that when Manchin signed off on some bills and let a few issues move forward. Now it will take true bipartisanship. Interesting thing is, there's a lot of speculation even right now. The initial vote for McCarthy was 188 votes, which, as you all know, it's going to take 218 to become speaker. And is this put kind of the House in a similar situation to where the Senate has been, which is very, very tight margins where one or two congressmen can hold something up? And does this also mean that bipartisanship, so a Henry Cuellar, Vicente Gonzalez, or several others, and kind of the blue dog Democrats could then partner with Republicans and end up with something bipartisan coming out of the House, putting tremendous pressure on the Senate to pass? So we will see where this goes. We've got a little bit of time yet, so there will probably be a lame duck session going forward. The Senate is already moving forward on one bill, again, more of a social issue, not focused on that. But there is December 16th, the end of the CR that needs to be continued, which is a continuing resolution. If you remember, we hire these guys, we vote for them, both sides of the aisle, to get a budget passed. Yeah, it's been 6, 8, 10 years since we've had an actual budget passed. But we've got continuing resolutions again. So that's what we're looking for at this point, is another continuing resolution. And it's been, the ball was kicked from September to December. So December 16th, we need to pass another continuing resolution. It is unlikely at this point that any budget will pass. So there will be a continuing resolution to get us into next year. And at that point, I would expect more continuing resolutions ongoing, because the likelihood of both houses being able to work together or getting something bipartisan to move forward is probably highly unlikely. The message from the country to work together has not been understood. In fact, it seems to be more polarizing. So I'm going to leave it at that for now. We are working behind the scenes, and a lot of coalition members are working together from the housing coalition side to figure out kind of where should we move, what's some of the next steps. And bluntly put, this may be better for us because in a logjam situation, we may have 2 years of not much changing, which is good for business, other than the fact that we're looking at an economy that could be in question. I'm just doing an interview with Realtor.com yesterday, and one of the discussion points is, where are we going as far as housing prices, housing stability? And we talked about the fact that there are a couple of pressures on it, from millennials coming in and increasing the number of housing units that they're purchasing, a historic underbuild of single family homes as well as multifamily homes. So there's plenty of pressure out there. Now, I will put this number out there for you guys to consider. There's statements by Goldman Sachs and others saying that there's a 3 million household shortage. So we need 3 million more homes built. At the same time, there are 10 million second homes. So how much of a shortage is it? And, you know, that's just something to be aware of. I think there will be some resetting in, you know, as the prices go up. One of the things that we've discussed is people who are looking at, you know, buying a house like they buy a car with, here's the dollar amount at $2,000 a month payment, you know, at 3% interest, you're buying a $600,000 home. At 6% interest, you're buying a $420,000 home. At 7.5% interest, you're looking about 360. That's putting 20% down. And what's interesting is as those dollar amounts have come down, or the value of the house that can be purchased has come down, there's some other factors in there, which is less down payment is required. Now, again, you're getting less house for it, but that's also put other houses in the market and other people in the market as well. So there are trade-offs on all of this. So we'll see where this goes. And frankly put, depending on how good or bad Black Friday is and how the retail segment comes out over the next month or so, is really going to have an impact on the Fed and how they react. As not only we have a Fed hearing in December, we've got another one coming up in the first part of the year. So those are going to be the impacts we're going to be watching. Again, if you want to see interest rates continue to rise, please go out, shop, spend, buy, do everything you can to push the economy. If you want to see it slow down a little bit, slow down yourselves, and we'll see what happens here. So, you know, because we can all impact the economy so much ourselves. So I say that a little bit tongue in cheek, but that's kind of where we're at. So let me mention this to you. You know, we're talking midterms. I do want to mention to you that we are going to have Al Williamson on here, speaking of midterms, because he actually handles something interesting. It's not a short term and it's not a long term on the rental side. It's actually that kind of that midterm or long term, short term. So midterm works well for it. I was like, that makes sense. We're coming off midterms. We're going to have Al come in and talk about midterms. And one of the things I think is very important to bring up with Al, and I love this on his LinkedIn, is he is the first landlord scientist. Now that I like, somebody who can actually bring a little scientific rigor to what we're doing. With that, Al, thank you very much for being here.
Hey, thank you so much for having me. I love that segue that you made. That is genius. Midterms, tying them together. That's like you need your own radio show.
I thank you, Rebecca, for that tip. That was a good tip.
All right. Hey, should I just start talking, or are we going to do a panel? How do you want me to do?
No, please go ahead and give a little intro and give a little. You want to do a little more background on yourself? By all means,
Okay.
do so.
Well,
but we'd love to hear more from you on short-term, long-term,
perfect.
midterms.
So for me, I'm in Sacramento, California, and I had an 8-unit apartment building, and you know, my wife asked me one day why we couldn't go on vacation. We had all these rentals, and I said it was because we had all the rentals, all the maintenance costs were eating me completely up. And I often say it's like living with a pickpocket. Can't really keep any money because the maintenance got taken away. So that's when I really snapped and decided to start studying and collecting ideas, and my whole scientific approach being a civil engineer. So what I came up with was that changing the use of your property was the fastest, easiest thing to do. Make a decision to change how you use the property. And back in 2015, it was just Airbnb, kind of the bed and breakfast flavor, different than it is now. But they came out with a business travel ready category. That meant that if you set aside a unit or apartment, that they would send business travelers to you. So I said, cool, that's what I did. And I started off just doing weekend stays, and that was stressful. And then I had a burning bush moment where the heavens opened, and I got a request for a 1-month stay. And that's when I realized, man, that's a lot easier. That's a lot easier. And then when I took a look at my numbers and just looked at the net income, so I'm a net income type of guy, I saw it was about the same thing as doing the shorter stays. So that's when I optimized back there in 2015. And I discovered this whole world of traveling healthcare professionals and construction workers and IT professionals and other international travelers who all staying for a month or longer. And I was in that world of where insurance companies knew what to do with month-to-month rentals, and I wasn't, it was not considered transient activity. So my government and city and taxes, they stopped bothering me. There's less red tape, the same net income as shorter term rentals, and a lot easier on my marriage. So that's how I got to where I am. And I'm definitely an evangelist for longer term stays, month-to-month stays. And in fact, as an engineer, I was overseeing bridge construction, and I was an essential worker myself, and I was on the road for months at a time. So I had the same need that I discovered that I could provide for other folks.
So Al, have you seen a real growth in that or a real demand there, a market need that you're filling a gap, obviously. Have you seen it growing? And has there been a kind of do you have a tip or trick on how to market that?
I sure do. Not only am I seeing it growing in the supply chain for hotels, 1 in every 4 hotels will be an extended stay version, a hotel with a kitchenette in it. So nearly everybody's seen it grow. And, the whole COVID period really put lighter fluid on this whole remote working or working from anywhere. And there's this growing demand that Extended Stay America was realizing that employers were putting pressure on employees to go work remotely, and employees didn't want to move their homes and move their families. So it started this even more of a rise for these extended stay products, so that are out there right now. So that is it. You can see in your market what the demand is by looking at the number of extended stay hotels in your market, right in your city. You're probably driving past them every day, probably multiple numbers of them, and then multiple different brands. The more different brands is kind of an intensifier, because one company can do their research, but when a different company does their research and ratifies that is absolutely a demand here, that's the best way I recommend checking it, because the homework has already been done. There's no way to do it better than these hotels do it. So just look at the extended stay hotels in your area. So I'll give you a marketing tactic, just kind of off of that, is to, at nighttime, like on a Wednesday, when it's dark, you go drive the parking lot of those extended stay hotels. You will see these white fleet vehicles, you'll see logos on the trucks. You'll be able to identify the companies that are actually using it, are in town and using it and have an immediate need for it. And then you can use your LinkedIn to reach out to the HR department and start a conversation, start building a relationship right there. So that is absolutely there's no competition doing that. Everyone's hiding behind their computers. Very few people actually talk on the phone these days. So it's wide open blue ocean and just as profitable as doing shorter stays, especially more so when you account for your own time that you're involved in the activity. If you say your time is worth as much as a handyman should be paid, you'll see by far changing a place over 4 times a year or 3 times a year and making 3 to 7 times the net income as a traditional landlord is well worth it. It's well worth it.
That's a terrific tip. And I remember the days when Residence Inn had just become a thing. And for years, they were the only ones, Marriott's Residence Inn were the only ones in that market. And then over the last few years, every brand has now begun to fill this niche with their own new kind of branding of a product that is just for those longer term stays. And it's been huge. So we know the need is out there for sure. Definitely exponential growth because of COVID. People can work from other places and may enjoy doing that or need to work from other places. So what does it look like though, as people might begin to understand that this is a niche that they want to fill, that they want to get into? What does it look like to migrate to there, Al? How do they start that process, and how do they know if that's for them?
Oh, that's a great question. Yeah, you're right. Residence Inn started in the 70s, and you're right. And then, so to migrate is if you are say an Airbnb host or been crowned superhost by the evil empire, even though I love Airbnb, I love them. You can transition. I recommend making a quick pivot by just serving one of the three parts of healthcare. You can do traveling healthcare professionals, nurses and things. There's the medical students that come in from June to December. They stay a month at a time, allow you to pivot. And then there's also families in need of people going through medical procedures. That's also as well. So you can get involved with that. You know, Furnish Finders has a lot of that market. And more people are discovering that. So that's the thing. There's these healthcare related things, healthcare workers. Well, there's about 55 million essential workers traveling in the United States, 55 million. And about a third of those is medical professionals. So that leaves the other 70% is out there that people aren't talking about. But the easiest way to pivot and to get involved is healthcare. And but there's even an easier one if you want another tip, Rebecca. Oh, I can't resist that smile. Okay. The other one is you just jump onto your Facebook page, your personal Facebook page, and you ask your friends and family, hey, does anyone know someone who's in town for a month or more staying at one of these extended stay hotels? If you do, and they're probably in the cubicle right next to them. If you do, and you send them my way, well, I'll pay you $100 if they book with me. And then you tell them to hit the share button on Facebook. And now you got turned all your friends and family into your sales staff. And you have all kinds of guerrilla marketing going on for absolutely free. And it takes you about 7 minutes and it's uncontested.
Well, word of mouth marketing has always been one of the most effective because people telling people has a level of trust. And, you know, we're all being bombarded with beyond the media messages of yesterday. Now we have all the new social media messaging and all of those sorts of things. And it's hard to weed through and find out, you know, what a really good source is. So I think that's a terrific way to tell people to market and a really good tip. I have a couple questions, if I may, coming up in the chat. You ready for that? Can I do that?
I'm ready.
One of the people asked, do you have all of your units completely furnished? And when we say furnished, like how far does that mean? Are we down to always sheets and towels? Do we tell people to bring anything with them? What does that look like in the longer term offering?
It looks exactly like a 4-star extended stay hotel. If they have it, you need to have it. Exactly the same. An ironing board, yeah, absolutely. And silverware, all those are the essential things that you need. But you know why we can always out maneuver them? The number one reason is because we can put a washer and dryer in our units, and they can't. So they don't stand a chance against us.
That's a huge plus, because going to a laundromat can feel, you know, a little cumbersome when you've worked all day. It's been a long day and you need to now take either your weekend or your evenings to do that. So excellent point. Another question is, with the changes in the market, some people are saying the market is going down. What does that look like for this particular type of real estate strategy?
Well, my focus is on this just workforce rentals. And I really zero in on the essential workers. And essential workers are exactly just like I said. If there's a recession, does the military stop? If there's a recession, does transportation projects stop? Or if there's a recession and your sewer line backs up, do you want your plumber to come out? Still, yeah. The essential workers go on regardless of the economy, regardless of COVID, regardless if aliens land. Essential workers are still there, and they're still funded, and they still need a place to stay, and they still have all their emotional needs. But it keeps going, and that's kind of the engineering part of this, of not making your place too glammy, keeping it simple so that that essential worker can realize the savings. So that money is that money is always tax-free, their housing allowance. So you stay in line with them, help them get what they want, and they will keep coming to you regardless of the economy.
Very good point. You talked a little bit about Airbnb, but we know that they also have competitors. What does that look like between Airbnb, VRBO, and are there other places that are not necessarily the word of mouth kind of thing, but a place to publish that we don't necessarily think of because we think short-term rental, not necessarily haven't been yet thinking the longer term?
Well, both those online platforms, travel agencies, Airbnb, VRBO, you can list your furnished rental on them as well. They have special categories now that they like to tag you with, and more people are doing so, which is cool, because the majority of people, not us, but the majority of folks on there don't know how to market any other way besides that. And when you walk and you pick up the phone and you talk to people in real time, the whole world is out there for you. So there's no need to worry about there. And also Airbnb, which is genius, has been around since 2008, and people kind of know that now. And Airbnb went public, and they keep ratcheting up their fees and gamifying things so that hosts lower their fees, just like any publicly traded company. I mean, we're all for capitalism, I don't want to say I would do the same thing. But because of that, the person needing a place will just go to Google and look for things now. That's why the rise of the direct booking movement is all about. So if you're looking to do other things, you just need a simple well, every business needs a website. It's 2022. Okay, first of all, every business needs a website. And then, yeah, you do things to get your website ranked and capture email addresses, and you do everything a regular hotel would do. So if you want to be a decentralized hotel, which is what I champion, being a decentralized hotel, you really have a marketing plan. It's very simple. A simple marketing plan will keep you afloat.
You also referenced a little bit about this making it a little simpler to stay in the good graces of local authorities and potentially homeowner associations if you have properties within those. Can you, for those who don't understand that has become a challenge, could you talk for just a moment about why that's so important and how some of the short terms have had new challenges come up for them in those areas?
Well, folks have complained, neighbors have complained, community activists have complained about the housing supply being taken off the market or away from people who are already struggle with it. When values go up in properties as much as they have now, then owners want to take the profits, and they want to displace people, and then they have to go and find other rentals that are much more expensive. I myself, I'm a real estate investor who rents his own house, and I myself got a 60-day notice to vacate. So I am being fortunate. I can move, but you tell you what, it is financially draining. And if I didn't have some means, I'll still take a loan from you, Rebecca. But if I didn't have means, it's incredibly hard on this side of the table. So I understand how people are displaced and shopping for a place to stay that might be $300 or $400 more than you're currently paying. Yeah, it is heavy. And then if supply is taken by people who discover that if they change the use of their property, they can make 3 to 5 times more. If you're on the short end of that stick, then yeah, you're going to complain to, well, you're going to complain to your legislatures, and then all the hotels will get behind and amplify your voice. So that's what's going on oftentimes. But on so there's lots of ways of balancing those things. There's lots of regulation templates to balance it, and then the hotels lobbyists will put a staff behind it to enforce it. So you got those things going on, but essential workers are still people staying there 30 days and longer and spending their housing food allowances into the mom and pop restaurants and embedding themselves into the community, not just on the freeways where the Denny's and the extended stay hotels are, is definitely great for the local economy. So that's a long way of answering your question. I hope I did.
You did perfectly. And we
Okay.
definitely believe that. The other thing too is, especially in homeowner associations with neighbors, when you have them feel comfortable that those people are going to be in their neighborhood for 30 days or longer. And so you don't have their concerns about some of the horror stories that happen in truly short-term rental.
Right.
It certainly makes them feel comfortable. And a lot of homeowner associations now have that provision for rentals being at least 30 days. And so the way you do it allows you to operate within those allowances and the covenants of the associations. There are some questions about resources to fund traveling healthcare professionals and such. And I will just put a plug out there for associations in general. You are part of this association for investors, but there are associations for everything. And when I say that, I mean literally everything. And so if you can think of someone who may need to travel and who may need that kind of support in terms of housing, then you can turn to their associations and find out where locally, you know, they have a group and potentially reach out to them. But Al, do you have other input for those that are asking about how do I even, other than the word of mouth and individually putting out, as you said, other ways to even know where to find people who need this kind of housing?
So the first thing that you should look for as an indicator that I recommend is someone who's spent $100,000 doing the research, which is the extended stay hotels. They've already done it, locked it up. Just take a survey of those, okay? And then if you want to know if there's demand there, you drive the parking lot at night. That really tells you that that's it. That's better than any backward looking data. That's real-time data. And then you look at what they've priced themselves at to see if you can make the numbers work. That's the most accurate, real thing that you can actually trust. And also you know what's coming to your community. There might be a different plant, like in Tennessee, there's a Ford plant coming in for electric vehicles. You know that, and you can make a decision on driving your parking lot and touching it, and also what's the information coming in. So associations are great. People still are going to go to Google. Anytime people have a problem, they're going to Google, which means, as I'm going to sound like a little parrot there, Rebecca, and it's as I wish there was like a 1, 2, 3, but you need a website. Your website needs to have some backlinks and reviews. You need to try to get yourself, and no one else is trying. They're all just staying on Airbnb. Put yourself on the first page of Google, and then you're findable. And once you're findable, you'll have all the business that you want, because very few people they're looking for shortcuts and microwave things to do it. The basics, no, very few people are doing the basics, which is getting a client, whether you get them on Airbnb or not, delighting them, getting their email address, staying in contact with them at Christmas and Valentine's Day, and having a website and the whole referral thing is fine. You don't need, you just need a few raving fans. That's what you need, a few raving fans.
Which is true in any business. So you have
It's
to
true
treat
in
it like,
any business.
you have to treat it like the business it is. And the other
Mhm.
thing that I think makes it like any other business is work your network.
That's exactly.
Here in Cincinnati, we have a very successful children's hospital. And so most all of us we know someone that is connected to that hospital because it is so large. And so just letting them know what you do. Sometimes we all, have friends that we meet through children's school or church or whatever, and they don't know what you do.
That's right.
Even as you've built your relationship. So let people
That's right.
know what you do and how you can help and be a resource. So work your network in that way.
Yeah.
Also, the other thing that's coming up in the chat bar is letting your insurance agent know, and so that they can spread the word for people that are displaced with fire, flood, some other kind of damage. And we have also found that the Red Cross and other assistance agencies have a need for those midterm to longer term rentals. Especially because of the housing shortage. So if something happens in a multifamily or even single family, they have a fire, they have some kind of disaster of some sort that happens in the unit, they have to find a place to put people. And unfortunately, things are so tight. They've had to go into often hotels, which just don't have the same feel as the kind of product, Al, that you're describing that can be offered, especially for families. And so you can be a real resource.
Let me add on a little bit for that, for what we found. Insurance companies, absolutely, they're very lucrative. They'll pay up to 4 times to keep that family in the same school districts for their kids and things. But that insurance company is the vendor of that person who's staying there. That person staying there has there's no accountability structure anymore to keep your place. Whatever habits that they had in their own house, it's going to be amplified in your place. So they're not essential workers, and they do carry a lot of risk with them. So I say absolutely. I mean, you can charge as much to cover any damage, but it's a different. There's all these little pots, and everyone has their different motives. Some people have a motive to save money. Some people have a motive for value, and some people have a motive to make money. And the category I was talking about, the essential worker, has a motivation to make money, and they're accountable. So that little sliver is I think is the holy grail. And then the next one will be the people who are employees who travel and are only reimbursed their expenses, but they still have the accountability structure, and they're looking for value and kickbacks and things. The folks looking for savings, or the insurance companies, I think they're in a different place on the totem pole.
Which brings me to the next big question in the chat bar. Speaking of accountability, how much screening can you do? What does that look like? Do you go through a normal quote unquote screening process for residents? And if they decide to stay over without paying, what is that process different from, I'm going to say, conventional longer term rentals?
Oh, those are good questions. So those are pretty much the big risks that you need to manage, right? You don't run from risks, you manage them. And just like a landlord has all those risks that we talk about, what's different about this, why I think it's less risky than regular landlording, is because in the spot of the essential worker is that they have a boss, and that boss and they belong to a company that they do not want to embarrass at all. Okay, so that's what's different. And also, when you're looking for an essential worker, if you pick someone who lives in your, say, displaced by insurance, and they live in your town, and they bring their dog and their family, yeah, then the risk of them squatting is different than someone who comes from out of town and has their dog and their wife in a different city. So, and who's accountable to their employer. So there's all these little, if you see what I'm saying, there's all these little shifts of people's motives, and also the accountability that's different. But when you go over 30 days, you're going to fall into those landlord laws for sure, unless you go through the legal work of creating a housing program. If you have a housing program, then you can kick people out anytime because you're running a program instead of something else. But you'll need some legal work in place for that. So I'm going a long way of saying there's ways of managing your risk, and also your screening practices are exactly the same. You can abbreviate them for, say, a traveling nurse who's already been screened and background checked and drug tested. You know, if you know that about them, if someone's coming with a company truck and they're responding to you on their company email, you know, you can fast track their screening and just things like that. So there's things you can shortcut and still feel pretty good, but you'll get better at it as you go along.
One quick thing to add on to what Al's saying, I know there's some gray area with short-term, midterm rentals and fair housing versus long-term. But the one thing I would say is, as you do that, just build your policies, right? So that you're applying them equally. So you can say, if this is corporate housing, this is a corporate stay, then these policies are in place, versus if it is outside a corporate housing situation, then these policies are in place. And that way you can feel more comfortable about staying inside the overall policies that you need, and not violating any of those fair housing kinds of laws. So just as you prepare that, build that as you go, to separate those two items and be able to apply things equally.
That's good.
You've given us some great information. I know you have lots more available.
Yes.
If you can put in the chat bar, please, how they can reach out to you for more information and some of your great education that is available to them.
Okay.
Because I know there will probably be a ton of questions that come out of this. That was a really quick and short overview of something that is a much more in-depth strategy. But I know a lot of you have looked at the shorter term model, maybe not something that you felt comfortable jumping into right away, but this is something that's a lot closer to what I would call conventional, and something you may feel a lot more comfortable with. So Al, I really appreciate your being here. Thank you so much for your time. Guys, if you have questions, make sure that you reach out to him. I'll put his info right here in the chat bar if you are missing it. It's al@leadinglandlord.com. So reach out to him for more information. And he has a website as well, which I assume is leadinglandlord.com.
That's it. Yes.
Perfect. So you can see more about him there. But one of the things that Al said as we were going through this, and one of the things that he realized as his needs were, and he calls himself a scientist, and that's because he looks for good tools that helps him manage and makes his life simpler. And one of the things I found as we were going through this with our rentals, both conventional and with our shorter term, is a product through Autom Security. And so I got so excited about it that I wanted to make sure that we introduced their company to you. I will let you know that we use it in all of our rentals, one of which was in Fort Myers. So I can tell you that this product even lasts through, what was it, 750 mile or whatever it was, mile an hour winds. It was incredible. Lasted through all of that, still came through the other side, working perfectly, and gave us some peace of mind when we're in Ohio/Kentucky and could not jump on a plane to make it to that property to be able to. We literally saw the hurricane coming in. And saw all the things that were happening right up until we lost complete power and everything was washed away. But then immediately it came back online and served us perfectly. So gave us a little bit of peace of mind to be able to manage from afar. So Mack, I'm going to let you take it away and tell them about the kinds of products that you have to offer that will make managing these kinds of properties a little simpler and give them a little more peace of mind.
Yeah, that sounds great. Thank you for that short little testimonial as well. As Rebecca said, my name is Mack. It's Mack Pairan. I'm with Autom Security. What we do is we help real estate investors like yourselves deploy smart home technology in your properties that not only allow the residents to have access to their home via their smartphone, but also to help you manage your properties a little bit easier when you're going through day to day. So I'm going to jump right into it, a little 8-slide presentation, if that's okay, and kind of give you an idea of the different products that we offer, but that are also very popular among residents and among landlords like yourself. And then at the end of that, we'll do a little question and answer. And then after that, if we still have some time, I'll jump into our platform to show you how it all works and how you can manage it. There we go. So technology and short-term rentals. So the top 4 devices for short-term rentals, and really any midterm or long-term rentals as well, are going to be smart locks, smart thermostats, smart lighting, and smart water management. So the first being smart locks. So 86% of millennials and 65% of baby boomers said that they would be willing to pay more for a home with smart home technology. In that same study, they found that the average is about 20% more. So you're able to raise your rents by about 20%. Which can help increase profit by quite a bit. With the smart locks, they allow you doors to be accessible at any time to residents, or if you want to create codes for contractors, maintenance people, they can be accessible during certain times. Say that you know a contractor's coming in next Tuesday around 9 a.m. You can set up their own code. It'll automatically allow them to come in with their code, and then it'll delete that code out of the system, Wednesday or Thursday, whenever you deem that that you want that code deleted out of the system. Also, with smart locks, you don't have to take on the risk of a guest losing the key or potentially copying the keys and coming back in at a later time. With smart thermostats, you can reduce your energy costs by up to about 15%, is what the government organization that takes on this kind of technology and energy savings. With this, you can automatically set up different rules or schedules so that when a resident checks in or out, it can turn on the thermostat and put it at an optimal temperature. You can also have different settings like partial lockouts or full lockouts. Partial lockouts are great for your shorter term rentals so that your residents aren't turning the AC way down or turning the heat way too high, causing your energy expenses to be off the charts. Or full lockouts are great for common areas so that nobody can kind of come through and change it to whatever you want that temperature to be. On the smart lighting, so there's all kinds of automations and fun stuff that we can do with smart lighting. So the first being when motion isn't detected for a set amount of time, the lights will automatically turn off. And so I actually have this set up in my own home in the living room so that when about after 15 or 30 minutes after motion is not detected, it turns the lights off. And that's really nice so that my wife and I, if we are watching a show at night, we get tired, we can just go to bed and not even worry about turning the lights off. We know that they're automatically going to turn off on their own. Or you can set it up for your short-term rental that when a door is unlocked with a code, it'll automatically turn the lights on, and you can set that up for a certain time. So you could say 15 minutes before sunset, if a door is unlocked with a code, automatically turn these lights on, and it gives your resident checking in a really great experience. Finally, which is when we started in this industry, we didn't realize how popular this one was going to be, but smart water management. So The average flood or freeze claim in America is $11,098. With the little sensor that you see on the screen here in the bottom right, this sensor will detect water. This is a smart water valve that will automatically shut off the water valve if it's a quarter turn valve. We also have cut-in valves available that will just automatically shut off the water if it's cut in and plumbed in. And then it's also going to send a notification to you as well, letting you know that, hey, there is a water leak. The sensor detected water somewhere in the house, but it's also the water valve has automatically shut off water to the house, preventing any major flooding or freezing or anything like that, so that you can go in, wipe it up with a little towel, figure out where the leak is and fix that, rather than having to go through your insurance and go through all the claim and restorations and vacancies and right there. And then finally, this is the brains of the operation. It's a smart hub. We offer the 7-inch touchscreen panel. We also offer a panel that just goes in the closet. There's no screen at all. And this is what all the devices communicate with. And then this is also what your phone and our desktop application communicates with to control all of the devices. A couple things that you want to look for in a smart hub are cellular and Wi-Fi capability. The Wi-Fi capability is kind of optional. You definitely want to make sure it's cellular, so that if for some reason the Wi-Fi were to go out, if it was just unplugged or something like that, then you have the cellular, which is much more reliable, communicating with that device. And then also Z-Wave technology. Z-Wave is, there's all kinds of different communication protocols, but Z-Wave is by far my favorite, and it's the most reliable in many cases. And that's what allows the smart hub to connect to the devices. And that is it. So is there any questions or anything like that?
Sorry, I'm checking the chat bar. I don't see any questions here, but I will tell you that the water valve was the selling point for me on all of our properties. We've had multiple issues with that, and it's one thing to put the detectors down, but if we were going to do something from out of town, then if I detect it now, it's still going to take me 18 hours to drive there, or, catching a flight to do something about it. And by that time, there's a real challenge. In talking with Dave Pairan, who was not able to be with us today, but he had an $18,000 bill because one of his units was in a condo, had water damage, and because his floor leaked into another floor, he had his own and something else to clean up. And although insurance should have paid it, didn't in time for him to get it back online for his incoming new longer-term, short-term rentals. And so he had to come out of pocket and then fight his insurance company to get it back because he could not get to the property soon enough. With this shut off, you're able to turn it off and have just that little bit of challenge that Mack was talking about. And for us, again, back to the Florida situation, it was terrific because when we knew there was going to be an issue, we were able to shut that off. So we did not get additional damage from internal leaking issues on top of the other water issues. And with all that being said, we just got a ton of questions in the chat bar, so give me a second. There are those who would like some training on this. We'd love to provide it. Matt, can you put your contact info, please, into the chat bar?
Will the chat bar be visual to the
I will,
recording?
yeah, if you put it in there, it'll go out to everyone, but the questions are coming in to me.
Okay.
Another question is, do you know if insurance companies will reduce insurance premium with your leak monitor and the shutoff valve?
They will, and it can usually be a pretty significant savings. And so it usually covers the cost of equipment over the life of the equipment.
Okay, I'm not sure I understand this. Do we need a SIM card? I understand. They want to know if you have to have an activated SIM card for that to work.
No, we provide that, and it is automatically built into that smart hub.
And that was another thing, again, going back to the hurricane issue, is as everything, Wi-Fi was gone. but the cellular operated right up until the very, very last minute and then popped back on sooner than anything else. So with those traditional or things that we have maybe talked about in the past, systems that are going through Wi-Fi, you would not have had that kind of communication back to your system. So it was beautiful to be able to capitalize on that cellular and Z-Wave system. Of course, the big question, Mack, is can you provide the average cost of this product? Is it a one-time charge to install and a monthly fee for the service?
Yes. So we offer both upfront and monthly pricing. So if you decide that you want to deploy this and you want to pay for the equipment upfront, you can do so. Or if you'd like we have a 60-month agreement where you pay for the equipment over time. And then there is a monthly charge. So just to give you a rough idea, if you paid for it monthly, it's going to average about $45 to $75 per month, depending on all the equipment that you get. If you pay for it up front, it'll probably be right around $1,000 to $1,500. And then there is a monthly charge for service. That's $28 a month. That includes a warranty on all the equipment. That also includes a dedicated account manager who will also help onboard any residents or staff that you would like. So we decided to go with a little bit more of a premium monthly price that we can offer a premium service, as opposed to skimping by and not being able to offer you the best service that we know that we could.
Can the smart lock be added to an iron security door?
That's a great question. It really depends on how the door is latched. We'd have to take a look at the door. I'm more than happy to do that. If you want to shoot me an email, my email is mack@automsecurity.com with some pictures of that door. I'd be able to take a look at that and kind of tell you if we'd be able to retrofit that to that door.
And can they begin with only the leak monitor?
Yeah. So we would start with the brains of the system. So we'd need a smart hub, and then we can add leak monitors, and we can add the water valve. And then down the road, if you say, we really do need this smart home technology to make our place a little bit more valuable so that we can charge a little bit more of a premium rent, you can add that down the line. It's all, as long as you have the smart hub, which is, like we said, the brains of the system, you can add products on as you go, or you can do one big package at once. It's just whatever you're most comfortable with.
And I will tell you, as kind of another testimonial, we have student rentals, and in one of those units we installed the package, and we ended up adding on multiple things. We started with just the leak and the water valve, and just started adding things on. We were able to in that student rental keep some of the people there that were not students anymore, because they loved being there. They loved all of the conveniences and the technology that was provided to them. Signed at mid-year, when we put this in, signed another year's lease, and okayed a rent increase with that because of what they were able to receive with this technology. And a group of young ladies that just loved it for feeling secure and having the ability to control some of the things that would control their expenses in terms of lighting and the thermostat. So it turned out to be a really terrific way to upgrade our residents and keep them in place and be able to increase rent in that way as well. So if you're thinking of ways to keep your residents happy, that's a great way to do it. Matt, did you have a couple other slides that you would like to show? Did you say?
Yeah, I would actually like to show our back end, just so you all can see the offering that we have and how easy it is to really control all of the units. So right here is just the login page. We do work with a software company called alarm.com. They have a market cap of $4 billion. They are a public company. We decided not to build the software ourselves just for security issues and updates. And so we are built off that software there. So as you can see, we have two units here, unit 101 and unit 102. So this is what I call the enterprise dashboard. So this is what you would see as the landlord looking in, and you can manage all the users, all the user access to the entire portfolio all at once. Or if you dive into here and you go into more of a specific unit, you'll be able to see all the devices. You'll be able to control all of the devices from right here. So for example, unlocking the door is as simple as clicking right there, and then clicking unlock. You can see the water valve is currently closed. If you want to open it back up after you did your restorations or repairs, it's as simple as pressing open. It's going to send that command and the water valve will be opening right now. Same thing with a thermostat, pretty simple to use. If you have any residents come in, you can just click users right here. And it's as simple as adding a user, and you can just give them the code. You can see this is that's an enterprise login there. Here's a specific login right here, so you can see the code to the house is 1234. They have access all times of day. They have access to all the locks and the panel itself. And then you can set up automations. So when bathroom water sensor is alarmed, it's going to close the water valve, so on and so forth. And then notifications right here as well. So it's going to send that notification of when water is detected. You can either have it send you a push notification via the app, it can send you an email, or it can send you a text, letting you know that that has occurred. So that's pretty much it for the entire system here, or the software. It's pretty simple to use, and very low learning curve there.
And you can use temporary passwords for contractors, as we've done. That's a really nice way to feel that you can give that small amount of access to them, but then they're locked out after that. The code disappears. They can't use it again. And as Mack's showing there, you can see that access periods, that's temporary, or you can give long-term. It's just a great way to approach that. But we are getting ready to head into our final minutes here. A couple more questions, sir. Would you be available to talk about this product at any of their local REIAs?
Yeah, I would love to. If you want to have me do that, we can set up, if you just want to shoot me an email, mack@automsecurity.com. We set up that time, and I would love to speak to your local REIAs.
He also, when he's live, it's just really hard. We were trying to figure out how to do this on a Zoom, but we can't. But when he comes out, he has a really nice setup that shows you the equipment. You can touch it and feel it, and kind of see how it operates and what it looks like. So that's also kind of helpful when you're in person to see those things. Mm-hmm. I think I got all of the questions here. Do you know on the insurance if there may be higher discounts because of the cellular and Z-Wave, knowing that it won't come offline, and what tends to be the most difficult of situations? I mean, a lot of times when you need the system, you can't get to the system because Wi-Fi is down. So do you know if it potentially is a different category because of that?
I'm not positive on that. That's something that I'll actually look into personally, because it would be good info for me to have. I wouldn't see why not, because it is more reliable, and if it's what they call a dual path when it's cellular and Wi-Fi, and so then there's a backup. So I wouldn't see why not.
Something to look into. Quick question: if you were going to do a presentation, how long would that take?
Yeah. As much time as you'll give me, I appreciate it, and as little as you'd like, is what I'll say. So, I mean, I can give a quick rundown of it in 5 minutes, like I do when I'm at networking events talking to folks, or we can do a 20-25 minute presentation like we did here today.
The also question is, where are you located?
We are based out of Cincinnati, Ohio. That's how we met Rebecca. We also did do her install in Florida, so we can do more remote style installs, but we're not able to maintain the system as well because we're not there in person, but we do offer complete phone support and any help that you might need.
Also, do you know if water is detected and the water shut off, how does that work with the sprinkler systems?
It's a great question. So we are not integrated with the sprinkler systems. If the sprinkler system is on the same water as the main to the house, then it would shut off the water to the sprinkler as well.
Okay, I think we have covered all the questions here in the chat bar. Thanks so much for being with us. Al, thanks for coming today too. I know a lot of you were very interested in possibly moving into this strategy, but had some questions about how it works, or if there were things that could help keep you make it a little easier to manage and make you feel a little more protected as you did, especially if it was not in your hometown. So thanks for being here today. Thanks to our speakers and to you as guests. If you have questions, you do have their information here in the chat bar to be able to follow up. I suggest that if you're interested, give them a call. They're a wealth of information on both sides. And thank you again for being with us. Have a really terrific holiday, and Thanksgiving is my favorite of all holidays. And we just appreciate you. We'll see you next month.